when I drop shot Megan, she calls me bad names, and I don't appreciate that because I'm just doing a tactical advantage, and it's totally within the
No, but you're not though. But you're not. It's not just tactics.
Exactly.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
Doing it. Yeah, exactly.
It is a tactical
we all
advantage.
know it's not.
It's a tactical advantage, but.
Welcome to Shankcast episode number 1. Today we're going to be discussing the underhand serve. Is it disrespectful or is it smart? With me today, as always, Kevin and Megan. Say hello, guys.
Hello there.
Hey, guys.
We've had a lot of in-office debates about this already, so I'm really excited to bring this to an actual content format. It's going to be exciting no matter what happens. And I'd like to say we're going to get to the bottom of it, but we're absolutely not going to get to the bottom of it. But what you will get is to hear the perspective of 3 lifelong career tennis people and hear some different opinions, some different perspectives on the underhand serve. And then you can make up your own mind. And hopefully it helps give you a little bit of perspective on kind of the different thoughts and viewpoints out there. So really quick, if you listen to the introductory episode, you heard us refer to this show as something completely different. And in doing a little bit more due diligence, I found that name was already partially taken online. So we've changed the show name to the Shankcast. Welcome to the Shankcast.
Woohoo!
Shank it up.
Jeremy Plumley. I need to give a shout out to Jeremy Plumley, old co-worker of mine who suggested Shankcast. Thank you, Jeremy.
Good job, Jeremy.
Yeah, good work. Really appreciate the input there. And would really appreciate your help. If you're listening right now or if you're watching right now, we really need your help getting this off the ground. And the best way that you can help us is by going to iTunes on your desktop or laptop or going to the podcasts app on your iPhone and leaving a rating and a review of the Shankcast and also subscribing. And if you do those 3 things, if you subscribe to the show, if you rate the show, and if you leave a review of what you've heard so far, just go ahead and just give us your honest feedback. And you send us a quick email with the review that you left, and we will hook you up with any course that Essential Tennis creates. Any of our programs, any of our digital programs. No, you can't come to Milwaukee and spend 2 days with us for free, but you can have access to any of our free programs by leaving a rating and a review. So just send an email to ian@essentialtennis.com with your rating and review, and we'll hook you up with a free course. Just let us know which program you'd like. You can check out all of our programs at essentialtennis.com and click on courses to see a list of all the courses that you can choose from. All right, so let's get into it. Underhand serve. It's time for the showdown. All right, we're going to go around the horn here, and really quickly, I want to get context here from each of the coaches, and we're going to discuss what's our experience been with the underhand serve. Have we ever used it, and have we ever had it used against us? So really quick kind of experiences, and just so everybody knows kind of where we're coming from and how we've experienced it in competition or maybe as a coach. And then we'll go around and give our personal opinions of, is this a legitimate shot? Should it be used? Should it be shunned? Or should it be applauded? So on and so forth. Megan, let's start with you.
Okay.
Your experience using it and receiving it, what has that been for you?
So using it, I hurt my shoulder and was trying to rehab or do everything but have surgery so that I could play tennis. And for
everybody listening, when you say hurt your shoulder, what does that mean exactly?
So I tore my rotator cuff and then trained with it torn to play a tournament that was, yes, I understand this is really stupid, but live and learn. And then I got to the tournament and got through a couple matches and then ended up not being able to use my arm at all after I served and the racket flew out of my hand. And so I ended up tearing my bicep, tricep, one muscle in my neck, underneath my armpit muscle, and a muscle in my back. So It kind of tore
Must
up
have
my
really
shoulder.
been cranking on those serves.
I'm pretty sure I was like doing anything and everything to just.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was bad. But anyways, okay, so yeah, don't do that. If your shoulder hurts, don't go train hard for a couple weeks getting ready for a tournament. But that was back in the day when there was only like 3 big tournaments a year, and it was one of those that I was training. So, so I heard it, and I could not raise my arm above my shoulder. And so it was, but I could hit ground strokes decently. And so I still wanted to play like high school tennis and some local tournaments, seeing if I could rehab enough to be able to come back and play at a high level again. And during that time, I decided to just serve underhand. And so it was always, I never actually told my opponents like from the beginning that I was going to serve underhand. So the first like couple, but most of them watched me or knew who I was in that area. And so they knew I was serving underhand. And so I played a couple local tournaments, and I played regionals and state.
What was the most aggressive response or reaction an opponent ever had to you serving underhand?
I actually never had not one
Really?
person.
Nobody
No.
was like, this is bullcrap.
I think because everybody knew who I was in the area, and so they
Sure.
knew I hurt my shoulder, and so it wasn't like
A huge surprise.
right. A lot of them were very. I mean, I did have a person who I knew very well and was very excited to play me because she just drop shot lobbed me for 3 sets straight because she knew I could not hit an
sucks.
overhead. And so, other than that, like that's what I used it for. But again, I did not tell my opponents like coming out. But so the first few were always like a shocker, but then they figured it out, kind of thing.
So what about used against you?
Yep, I've never had it used against me.
Not one time ever?
No,
All right.
no. Sorry.
Kevon?
I have, I guess my experience with the underhand serve, I've never used the underhand serve.
Yeah. Even in
And-
practice, like screwing around?
No. It's probably just because I'm super competitive.
I hope I'm the first.
Yeah.
I hope I'm the first one you underhand serve.
Definitely one of you two will be the first one after this conversation.
The next time you guys play, it's going to be like
totally.
underhand serve.
Just get ready.
100%.
Just
breaking
get ready.
it out.
Yeah, I've never used it. I don't know. Just growing up, I never considered it. Yeah.
And has it ever been used against you?
I think like occasionally we've had like situations where I've played like some of our players, our kids, and maybe they couldn't serve and they hit an underhand serve, and it was kind of like goofy funny because it was actually harder to return their serve just because of the difference. And you almost, for me, I feel like you had to treat it as like an approach shot versus a serve return or a different shot. But yeah, definitely no experience with it. This is going to be an interesting conversation though.
All right. And then coming around to me, I've never used it in like a real, competitive environment. I for sure have used it in lessons, college, like team practices. I remember for sure using it. Just like Kevin said, like, oh,
Like in a
ha ha,
joke? Okay.
yeah, right. Yeah, not like anything serious where I was like, come on, like if I won the point. So it was always definitely like a humorous type of environment. And that's the only time I remember it being used against me as well. Screwing around. Never in a real competitive match can I ever remember it being used against me. All right, so let's go around and give opinions. Opinion time. So here, each of us is going to have the floor for as long as it takes for us to explain our stance, and the other coaches can make like noises, but we can't like it.
I'm definitely making a psh noise.
Just get ready.
We cannot like interrupt or take the floor like from the person, but it's impossible for us to not like make any kind of noises.
I have a running bet. Let's see who's going to try.
We got
100% it's going to be me.
Who's going to break? Already, she's done it. I haven't even finished like what I'm going to say, and she's already taken
yeah,
it.
like a little counter needs to go.
I can even get the bet out.
All right, so with that in mind, and then after we each kind of give our own personal kind of opinion or thoughts on it, We'll go Megan, Kevin, Ian. I think that'll be.
I think we should mix it up because I went first.
Think so?
Yeah.
Should we go maybe Ian, Kevin?
Yeah. Sure.
I think we should have a Kevin sandwich. Either way.
Okay.
Yeah,
got
that's
it.
probably best.
Okay, so starting with me, and then after we each have the floor for a little bit, we give our own opinion. Then we'll do free for all, and it'll just be Shankcast Royal Rumble, talking about the underhand serve, or debating, or whatever you want to call it, shanking. All right, so my personal opinion is that it's totally fine to mess around, and I'm very aware that as per the rules, which Kevin's been going through with a fine-tooth comb, in case you happen to be watching, that's what Kevin's been doing on the iPad. He's not looking through Facebook. He's going through actual tennis rules so that he can tell us that we're wrong.
Welcome to my life.
I'm totally aware that it's legit from a rules perspective. It's not against the rules, but I feel like it's against the spirit of the game, in the sense that I think one of the things that makes tennis really, really special is the history and the legacy of the game, where it came from, the decades and like centuries now of it being kind of like a ladies' and a gentleman's sport. And I think the underhand serve kind of undermines that. I was going to say underhands that, but it's definitely not the right word. Undermines that a little bit. I think it's disrespectful. I put disrespectful in the title because that's how I feel about it. Is it legit? Like when Nadal is 45 feet behind the baseline, getting ready to return serve, is it a legitimate tactical, like strategic choice? For sure. Like from that standpoint, I get it. And I'm not going to say I necessarily fault anybody in that particular situation for using it. But I also don't fault Nadal for feeling disgruntled about it or pissed about it. And I also wouldn't fault anybody in the crowd who would like whistle or be like, or say that it's a backhanded, kind of move. Because the scenario is it's your one opportunity to hit the best shot you can, and you're expected to hit the strongest shot possible with the serve, and instead you hit the weakest shot possible. And so it's psychological warfare just as much as it is tactical. And so from a purely competitor, like as a competitor, I respect the play of somebody who is willing to do it. But I don't respect necessarily how it clashes with the history and the what's the right word? The spirit of the game.
Legacy kind of thing.
Exactly. Those are my thoughts in a nutshell. I'm not going to say it shouldn't. I'm not going to say like you can't use it, because you can. Like it's your choice. It's your prerogative. But I personally wouldn't feel comfortable. An example that just went kind of viral on Facebook recently is a professional player used it in a situation where it totally made sense tactically. He won the point. It was an ace. This was just like a week ago.
And then I put up on our page,
And then he went back, like got the balls for the next point, walked up to the baseline, and put his hand up to his opponent as if he just hit a net court winner or something like that. Like it worked. He won the point, but he was ashamed.
There were people saying that possibly was him saying, "Are you ready for the next point too?" I don't know. I'm just stating. Just. I
don't think
they haven't clarified with him either.
I'd be shocked if he confirmed that, simply because everybody knows when the other person is
right.
ready. Like they're in the ready position, they're doing the dance, like rock back and forth. Their eyes are on the server. Like there's never any question in a professional match whether or not the returner is
No,
is
I'm
ready.
not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like that's been the
I'm just saying
back and
anybody
forth on it
who
now.
says that, I don't think necessarily understands like the rhythm and the flow of a normal, super high level match like that. Everybody there knows when somebody else is ready. There's no question about that. So I think the hand is him. He feels bad.
I took it as that too.
He feels bad.
I took it as that too.
All right, that's my. I will. What do they say in debate? Not give up the floor, but relinquish the floor to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Garlington.
Wow. I don't have enough time to do enough research in this moment. You said so many interesting things. So in the spirit of just being me and being controversial, I'm going to go against the grain here. And like going through the friend of court, which for all of us tennis people out there, that is, if you're in the U.S., that is the kind of law of the land in the tennis world, which I think, ironically enough, a lot of people don't read and don't fully understand the rules of tennis. They understand the basic rules. The reason
I'm just kidding.
Why
I just wanted to do that.
I know you got to do it. You got to do it. The reason why I've spent probably more time than most people in the friend of court is because I actually was a tournament director. So for probably over 10 years, I have helped run USTA tournaments, and to have that opportunity to go through the friend of court and read things and go like, whoa, like even where the officials aren't quite clear on the rules and they've had to go back and read it. And
there's a lot of nuance.
There's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot
too.
of interesting loopholes. And as I've skimmed through the friend of court as Ian's talking, and there's no mention of the actual
skim.
Yeah, that's fine. You can skim it. I'll keep going deeper. But there's no mention of the particular type of motion you have to use to serve. So whether it's underhanded, ooh, yeah, you guys get ready. I'm going to throw some nasty slice, like curveball serves.
The only stipulation is that the ball can't bounce first,
yeah.
right? As long as it's out of the air.
As long as it's out of the air, it's considered an actual serve.
And you can't like run and hit it, and you can't. There's a few other.
I didn't see any. As long as you're not foot faulting, I didn't. There was some part of it where it was mentioning, because it goes through clearly of like foot faulting.
There's a thing about stepping. You can only take
I think you can take a drop step, but that's
right.
But
You
that's
can't
it.
take anything else. Yeah.
As we continue, I'll go through it because I'm curious to see are these just, I guess, analogies of what we've kind of considered through the years of where we've said, oh yeah, well you're not supposed to take a step just because everybody assumes that's true, or are we talking about from the fundamental basis of what is the actual rules? Like,
is there a separate set of rules, by the way? This is like USTA's thing.
There
right?
is a ITF
ITF
rules. Yeah, I was going to check that next. But as far as like, it's very interesting as you go through the rules. There's no mention on the particular type of motion. So far, they just talk about foot faulting, and I was going through that. I'll go through if you can take steps, because that's another curious thing.
I'll see if I can find the ITF.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I think a big hand of what most people, including myself for a long time, we accept what has been given to us, and we don't investigate what is true. And so while we are maybe judging the spirit of tennis, in the sense of what is right or wrong, are we just accepting it because that's what we've been given? So another interesting thing I wanted to check out, when we go back to videos of like old school tennis, did they underhand serve? So when we talk, and I think I've seen videos, I don't know, I'm actually going to check it out. But like when we're talking about pants, old school tennis, I'm pretty sure they did some underhand serving.
I like that you called it pants. Old
Pants.
school.
The pants era.
Yeah, it is the pants era. Come on. I mean, the next time you get one of us wearing like white,
The open era, and then there's the pants.
pants
Yeah,
era.
exactly.
The pants era. I'm curious if they did underhand serving. And as Ian's talking about the tradition, how many of those traditions have we either followed and is that really the tradition, or is that just something that we've accepted as the tradition as tennis has been broadcast over the many years? And so for me, a part of me understands the spirit of tennis. Well, what is really the spirit of tennis? Do we really know, or are we just accepting something that we've like called the spirit of tennis? Like, tell me, what is the spirit of tennis? Yeah, that's from Megan. That's definitely right now. Megan's lip is bleeding because she's trying so hard not to interrupt or say anything. But for me, it's like, what is the spirit of tennis? You know, in some sense, I love the idea of like tradition. But in some sense, when does tradition need to change, and do we follow tradition blindly? And obviously this is tennis. We're not talking about life or death here, but are we following something so blindly that we can't see that? Yeah. So when like you're talking about serving and presenting the best serve forward, what is the best serve? How do you categorize that? The best serve that the person can't hit, the best serve because you hit it the hardest, because you place it the best, or the best serve because it's just difficult for the opponent. So in that sense, thinking about the best serve, it's really about how we personally categorize best. If we are in the fence of like best needs to be the strongest, fastest serve, or for someone like Kyrgios, best means surprise tactic. You're waiting on the baseline to crush my 110 mile an hour serve or 20, and I'm going to throw you. Yeah, I know it's hard. I was looking for a note app as you were talking, as I tee up my 10 mile an hour underhand serve, which is now the best serve that you cannot handle. So I'm very curious in the sense that my stance on the underhand serve isn't about necessarily the underhand serve, but it's about the idea of accepting ideas that without really fact checking. Like everybody's so bummed out about the underhand serve. Well, why don't we have a rule against it? Like, it's in the rules. So it's like I think when people get so mad at something, but they don't really know necessarily why they're mad at it, or they have this reason for it, but it's actually a rule that allows us to do that. So are we fighting against so can we break or have other rules in tennis where we get mad at it because it's a rule but we don't agree with it? That's the whole point of having the rule book, is to have something that's a standard that we can both agree on. And by playing tennis, at least in the United States, by the accordance of the friend of court, then it's a rule that you've agreed upon when you go and play a tournament in the US, that you can underhand serve. And just because someone doesn't agree with it doesn't mean you're not allowed to do it.
So here's the ITF real quick. Description: the server shall then release the ball by hand in any direction and hit the ball with the racket before the ball hits the ground. The service motion is completed at the moment that the player's racket hits or misses the ball. The player is only able to use one arm and may use the racket for the release of the ball.
Yeah. So I mean,
those are the only stipulations in ITF.
I think that's all. I'm glad you find, because that's, I think, way more detailed than the friend of court for the USTA. But again, we have this agreed upon accordance between the USTA, the International Tennis Federation, of what the rules are. But yet we discredit or we shame or judge those people that are following the rules and actually may have done some, I doubt they've done some research, but they found a strategic advantage.
Yeah. His friend at court booklet.
Yeah.
I totally want to call up with Kyrgios. I'm going to do a video saying, look, it's in the rules. But they found a strategic advantage within the rules that allow them to win points in a specific time using an underhand serve. So if that's not the spirit of tennis, is the spirit of tennis against the rules of tennis? I guess that's the question.
Megan.
She's just going to say, beep, 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 beep.
No,
Kevin,
I have never said that it's against the rules by any means. I mean, I used it in, what year was that? I was 14, so
18.
Hilarious. It was so 95-ish. So I mean, I used it for an entire year, so I definitely know that it's a rule, and that I also think that there's a lot of rules that are loopholes for sure. And I don't think it's a against the rules thing that's wrong with it. I think it's like, I don't know. I think there's an underlying moral rule book.
Ooh, tennis morals.
Yeah.
I like you.
Tennis ethics.
I like you.
Tennis. And I think that that's what makes tennis special. I don't know if and I think a lot of it's based on what we see and the experiences that we go through. There's definitely plenty of people, like if you hurt your shoulder or something like that and you're going to serve underhand, you serve underhand. You do what you got to do. So I'm not saying that it can never be used, but I'm saying that there are certain situations where I know I'd be pissed off if someone used it against me, because for some reason there's something in my brain saying that it's morally wrong to use it in a match. Now, granted, like I just said, I understand the rules say you can do that, but the rules used to also say you could go around and punch your opponent, and then you. Did you not know that?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Was this the pants era?
No.
You could also.
Yeah.
If you could see the visual of.
That was the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
The tiebreaker was fisticuffs.
No, in Friend of Court, I don't know if it still says this, but it used to say, like, if you physically abuse your opponent, it's 1 point penalty. And so the joke used to be that it was a joke, people, just a joke, just FYI, that you could go over and punch your opponent. As long as you punched him out, they'd have to default, and you only got a point penalty.
Isn't there also a rule about crossing over to your opponent's side as well, though?
You don't
so you
cross
just gotta,
the net.
You just got to make sure that, hey,
bring them up to the net. Yeah. But there's all those rules.
Hey, can you help me pick up this ball?
Yeah. I mean, there's rules about you can't leave the court with your racket. Like if you go to the bathroom and you take your racket, you default the match. I mean, there's all kinds of rules. If you have the time to read through Friend of Court, you'd be really surprised how many extra points you would actually get. But I think that there's also this unwritten moral rule book that some people, Kevin, don't follow often.
Ooh.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
No, but I think that, I see the idea of, okay, follow the rules because I'm a definite rule follower person. That's my personality. But there's still something about it to me. Even though I used it often, I didn't use it in a sneaky situation.
It's necessity.
Right. I used it out of, having to. So, that's pretty much my stance.
We ready to open this up?
Open it up.
All right. So I'll make a statement and then we can go off of that. So I guess my main counter to Kevin, which very well laid out, Mr. Garlington. Well,
thank you.
Well argued. But your main point of contention seems to be that it's not against the rules and so you can do it. There's all kinds of ways to be a jackass on the court that aren't technically against the rules. And those things are only used to pursue gamesmanship. Now, gamesmanship, as per the rule book, is against the rules. But have you guys, as tournament directors, have you guys ever seen anybody actually get penalized for gamesmanship?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
give me some scenarios. So what are some scenarios where somebody actually got slapped for
saying bad words?
Okay. Oh, that's not
For sure.
gamesmanship.
Fist pump
fist
in the
bump in
direction
the face.
of the player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other ones?
Yeah, there's
Hitting balls away from the player.
From your, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
No.
Like just any sort of
Gamesmanship.
yelling, screaming that isn't directed at yourself.
Directed towards opponent or spectator or something like that.
Yeah.
In case you're listening or watching, you're not familiar. Gamesmanship is essentially the opposite of sportsmanship. It means you're doing something on purpose to psychologically rattle and or throw off your opponent. And in my opinion, when a Kyrgios or somebody like Kyrgios, somebody who's just trying to be an a-hole part of the time, which is his prerogative. Like if that's the type of player that he wants to be, just to be like, I'm not like a big hater on Kyrgios, just to be totally like throw it out there. I think he's good for the game. That's another discussion for another time in general. But he has a certain personality and a certain way that he likes to try to gain a competitive advantage on the court, and it's not through hitting the best shots. And so while the underhand serve against Nadal when he's 45 feet behind the baseline might actually literally be the best tactical shot, we all know here that that's not the only reason why he's using the underhand serve.
Right.
He's using the underhand serve because he's also gaining a big psychological advantage over his opponent. And that's where I personally draw the line, is when it is gamesmanship. Nobody can prove that because we can't like prove his intent that he's trying to rattle and like annoy and piss off his opponent. But that's what he does every match.
Right.
Whether or not it's overt enough that he could actually get warned for it, is one question. There's lots of direct things you can do that are against the rules. Generally being a pain in the ass is not directly against the rules. And the underhand serve I put in that category.
Yeah, I wonder, even I know junior tennis, they're really strict on the gamesmanship because they're all about making better players, developing when you're younger, that kind of thing. But I wonder once you get to ITF and even futures levels or anything like that, where you have a ref. Yeah, I wonder how strict they are with gamesmanship, because we don't hear about all of the penalties that are issued to ITF players. When they're playing, you don't hear about all the penalties half the time that they will get and have to pay a fine for or whatever. Yeah. Especially if you're just watching on TV. Yeah, I know. He's
Kevin, you got to join the conversation at some point.
I'm joining. Don't worry, guys.
He's looking at the pants era on YouTube.
I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting, by the way.
But I think that, I think there's a line of,
there is.
Are you just trying to piss off your opponent? And I think that there are people who play tennis that's the way they play.
Yeah.
And
it's part of their strategy.
Right.
And they know what they're, and in Kyrgios' case, I think he absolutely knows the lines that he crosses.
It's the people that walk up to the line and act like they're ready to return, and then they're like, oh, wait, no. And then they go back, and then they do it
toss.
3. Yes. And they and Kevin loves those types of people. He thinks it's amazing. This is one thing that I do. We disagree on everything pretty much, but this is probably the same thing. But I mean, it's those types of people that they're just doing it out of the sheer fact of, I'm going to mess with your mind.
They know they'll gain an advantage.
Right. But here's the other side on that, is that if you are mentally tough enough to actually do all of that stuff and still be able to
speak the truth, you do.
Oh, Jiminy. To still be able to focus and win points, I give you credit, because if I were trying to manipulate all kinds of situations on the court and do weird gamesmanship that I don't think fits into the moral rule book of tennis, then I would end up screwing myself up mentally, in the sense of not being able to focus, and I'd probably make a lot of unforced errors. And
it's like any other tactic. It could backfire,
right?
Potentially. But I would say in most cases, across most levels, if we take into consideration our listeners and our viewers, it really messes with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think when an opponent does something on purpose to try to push buttons, most club players just absolutely self-destruct.
Yeah, I think there's so many different.
No disrespect, it's tough. Like Megan's saying, it's difficult.
I think there's so many different things, and I think there's the element of the responsibility of the person receiving the underhand serve to address basically how they're going to address the situation. So I mean, just like any tactic, if you have a weak backhand, I'll pose this question to you guys. If you have a weak backhand or forehand,
what are you trying to say, Kevin?
I'm just trying to say, Kevin, if you do have a weak backhand, or
let's just say
you have a weak backhand, is it wrong for me to go there the entire match? So, for instance, we take the classic match of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. He does one tactic the entire match. He knows that it's a weakness that he can continuously go there. There's no rules against it, right? But he does that tactic because it gives him a strategic advantage in the match. So is it immoral, or is it wrong that you watch an actually 5-hour match of the guy doing the exact same thing to the backhand over and over and over
either
again?
One of them underhand serve.
The difference is that's culturally in tennis, as per tennis culture, in the ethos of tennis, that's accepted and it's part of the game. Whereas the underhand serve is not. Whether or not it's right or wrong, I'm just saying.
It's interesting, as you look back through history, actually we did underhand serve in the beginning.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I've been going back.
All right, you need to narrate.
In the 18, what was this? The 18, we went beyond the pants era. We were in the dress era. They actually started the points off by underhand serving. Let me back that up.
Describe for people at home, Kevin. What are we seeing?
Yeah, sorry, you guys can't see this home, but if you go to like the old school underhand era, this is back in the beginning of tennis.
I want to see Kyrgios like walk on. This is like black old school.
Yeah, this is old school.
White.
Like the ladies are wearing full out dresses.
She's picking up her dress.
Yeah, and I'll go back some more. It transitions as you get later in tennis that you start seeing people go through overhand and underhand serving, as I think probably the game got more competitive.
The tactics got more competitive.
Exactly.
And stronger. And they evolved.
You're right. But here's just like it evolved. When something evolves, it also creates sometimes a weakness within it, because all the animals in the kingdom get really good at defending against a certain tactic that is evolved over time.
Those of you watching are in for a real treat.
Oh yeah. Which sometimes opens up the very thing. It's just like, we've evolved. And then we're creating.
It kind of leaves a vacuum.
Yeah, we're creating things that are melting the polar ice cap or whatever you want to believe, which is now creating.
You think underhand serve is the equivalent of
melting
the
the polar ice cap?
It's this big. It's this big. So I think for me, the whole idea is.
Kevin's up there on the iceberg going,
melt. No, I bring the blow dryer. I'm there with like battery powered blow dryers on top of the ice cap. But I think the point is, for me at least, that regardless if you want to underhand serve or not, is your choice. But not to be like you can say that in today's game, because no one does it, it's socially unacceptable, right? Well, most things, when some person does something, when Roger Bannister wanted to run the 4-minute mile, everybody was like, it's impossible, you're stupid, it's not even, it's like
underhand serve, 4-minute mile.
I know, compare it. Exactly. I completely agree. Because
that's not breaking rules. Saying you're going to run a 4-minute mile is not breaking any rules.
Okay, sorry, you're right. When Mahatma Gandhi, we're going there. When Mahatma Gandhi decided to have India break away from the British rule, saying that he was going to use no violence, everybody was like, it's not possible, that's stupid. And he was breaking the rules by trying to break away from the British Empire. But it happened. Everybody in the beginning said he was a fool. He's an idiot. So in history,
realm.
In history, people, when you do something unorthodox, they call you some radical. It's against the cultural rules. I can't believe you're doing this. But then when it becomes a little bit more successful, more people try to do it because it creates an advantage. Well, guess what? Everybody's not going to underhand serve every time. But I guarantee if both of you are in the situation, maybe I don't know, you guys are both straight-laced. But if you were in the situation of winning your first Grand Slam, playing Rafael Nadal, knowing that if you underhand serve, you're guaranteed to win the match, would you do it? Because it gives you.
That's a really good question.
You're guaranteed.
Actually.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying this is the whole point. You're guaranteed to win the match because the entire match long. Give me the floor for a second. The entire match long, you have you've overhand served, and he's not going to be ready for it. So you are now guaranteed. I'm saying this is the situation. It's testing the morals.
Okay,
testing the morals. If you're in a Grand Slam, your first ever Grand Slam, if you underhand serve, you are guaranteed to win it. Will you do it?
But do you agree or disagree that tactical advantage is not the primary reason why Kyrgios is doing it?
No, totally.
Okay, but so we agree on that.
Yes and no.
He's
yes
mostly doing it.
No,
I'm saying there's a little bit of there is a little, in the case of Nadal, 45 feet behind the baseline, there is a tactical advantage. But if you go back through all of his underhand serves, it's definitely not the primary reason.
So what's his advantage?
Gamesmanship.
You mean breaking down the person mentally?
Yes.
Is that a tactical advantage? Is that a tactical advantage when you can get in somebody's head and break their rhythm? Is it a tactical advantage that when people go to the bathroom and you have match point? No,
there's a lot of different ways to do that, and some are more disruptive.
Some are more extreme.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but so this is in the rules. It's a tactical advantage. So answer the question, Mr. I won't take advantage of those mental tactical advantages, but you can win a Grand Slam.
That's not what I said. That's not what
You're right. That's not what you said. So will you answer the question on air, Ian Westerman?
What is the question?
Grand Slam.
Yeah.
You will win the Grand Slam because it's a match point, and you will serve under. Would you not serve?
The guaranteed slam is a ridiculous.
No, and it's not. No,
it is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It's a moral question.
How is that a moral question?
Because I'm asking you,
it would never be guaranteed.
No, but I'm saying I'm giving you the guarantee.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a moral question. It's not about like underhand serving. It's like you guys are making it out this a cultural thing about it. It's a moral thing that Megan says.
Say
so,
me personally, or like my
you personally
recommendation.
No, you personally. Yeah, you have a Grand Slam on the line, knowing
my legacy would be the person going down in the annals of tennis history as being the person who won his first and only Grand Slam by underhand serving. No,
I probably
honestly,
you wouldn't do it.
That's not what I want to be known for like the rest of tennis history.
That's totally fine.
Honestly.
So here's the other thing.
Kevin's I think I do it every single point.
I don't know if I do it, to be honest. I don't know, but I think if it was guaranteed and I was like, dude, I could win a Grand Slam.
Have a Grand Slam.
I might take the advantage.
That's
but here's
how you're
the thing.
remembered is
but
the guy.
But here's the thing.
Raised the trophy up because he underhand served.
Okay, here's the thing. So, like Megan's point, she's
that's
like,
kind of embarrassing, right?
It is kind of embarrassing.
That's the way people view you for the rest of your tennis
yeah,
career.
but it's like that didn't get me to the point of having.
It defines you, though.
No, it doesn't define me.
Yeah, it does. If you win a Grand Slam by underhand serving.
If I win 1 point by underhand serving and defines the entire match.
The Grand Slam.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to win, but this 1 point. It's 1 point, right?
This is the first time you said 1 point.
Oh no, sorry, I said match point.
You said one.
I said match point.
So I'm imagining like.
Okay, sorry. Let's
let me.
No. You're not going to win a Grand Slam 3 sets of underhand. But I'm saying, I said match point. If you have a match point because you haven't done the entire match and you're going to underhand serve.
I think that's different than what.
That's what I said.
He said overhand serve the whole match up until the last point.
Right. Up until the last point.
And you could underhand serve and win the thing. And I still don't think.
I just want to. I
go a little closer. If it's 1 point, the last point, I go a little closer towards considering it, but probably still say no.
Okay. Well, it's just interesting because I think
it's a good question.
It's a great question because I think, like Megan's saying, it's a kind of a moral thing. So why don't you just stop playing if you hurt your shoulder? I don't mean that and like for you, but I mean like for Michael Chang. For Michael Chang, when he was cramping and he couldn't serve anymore, nothing was wrong with his shoulder.
Right. There's a difference between a physical necessity and doing it for psychological warfare.
Okay. What do you think Lindell was like? Oh, dude, I've got
he realized that was out of necessity. That's where I think
it was not out of necessity. It was not out of necessity for him to serve underhand when his calf is cramping. What's wrong with his shoulder?
That's an interesting question. You can't say legs are not involved in a good high-level serve.
Okay, exactly.
You can't say it's not out of...
You're right.
Okay.
You're right. So Michael Chang knew that by serving underhand, he would probably have an advantage compared to dinking it overhand. You can't tell me, time out, you can't tell me you can't serve without your calves or your legs.
I mean, it would be great to have Michael Chang join us right now.
You're right, that would be awesome.
To be able to say what was the ratio, Mr. Chang, of tactical advantage versus necessity? I don't know.
You're right,
you're right.
But I'm just saying, can you serve without using your legs? But obviously you can serve because if you look at wheelchair tennis, what are they doing? Serving without legs. But go ahead. Go ahead, Megan.
Megan hasn't talked for a while. Why don't you tell us what's going through your head, Megan?
You guys said you wanted me in the conversation.
I think that it all is, for me, I'm a huge respect person, and that it's not only respect to myself, but respect. Like, I like to be known as the person that shows respect and exudes respect among others, kind of thing.
Besides Kevin.
I am so disrespectful.
But I think that's...
No, I meant her towards you.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a huge thing. He's joking.
Yeah, I know he's joking.
Okay. That's a huge thing for me is that. And so, and whether that's right or wrong is a whole nother topic. Whether you should believe in what other people think of you and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that for me, respect of I'm doing it out of necessity because I want to make sure that I'm finishing the match and I want to make sure that I am doing everything I can.
That's a good point. Chang could have just walked off the court.
Right, exactly. Which I feel like out of respect, he's like, hey, I'm going to still play this match and I'm going to do the best thing I can. And that's underhand serve because that's going to be better points than me dinking a ball like this. That's me personally.
I love that.
I could have gone out and I could have done this too, but I didn't just throw it in as like I'm gonna mess with you and here you go, like that kind of thing. So I think there's a difference in that, and that's why I think the whole 1 point win the Grand Slam, I would not want to do that, because I would not wait till I'm done talking, or you're gonna get a counter at the top of you.
I'm gonna get a what?
Counter?
Counter.
A counter?
I was thinking
I was like, is she gonna count me, or is it gonna be like something getting dropped on me?
No, a counter. And so I think that is why I would not do it. Even if
You took a breath. That's a fair game.
even if it meant that I would win the Grand Slam, because I don't think it's a respectful move, like morally. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's not. It's fair within the rules, but so is half the other crap that you can do in tennis that is morally. I mean, in junior tennis, we saw everything under the boat. I mean, it wasn't. They had to change the rule books eventually because parents could take their kids to the bathroom if they got sick. And I had a 12-year-old girl who was making herself throw up on the sidelines after she lost the first set so that her dad could take her to the bathroom during the changeover and coach her against the kid that was playing.
Yeah.
And so all of that was fine too. That wasn't in the rule books at the time. So with that kind of stuff,
it's totally in the rule books. Not to coach. He's breaking the rules. He just never got caught. There's a difference. He
Making
broke the rules.
Throw up though?
No, like so that your dad could take you to the
exactly.
bathroom.
So you can coach your daughter. Telling your daughter, communicating, aka Serena Williams and her coach, which had the whole blow up,
and every other professional.
Professional, whatever.
Just
but
to be clear, like everybody does do it.
Yeah, but he just got caught like big time on TV. But he was breaking the rules. So, I mean, yeah, there is a rule against that. That's the whole point. There's a rule. He got caught. I think, like, what you're saying, like, to your situation with, you had a physical thing with your shoulder, which is literally, like, you can't move your arm above your shoulder. Michael Chang didn't. He had a leg
and can
situation.
I clarify your hypothetical? In your scenario where if I underhand serve this point, then I win a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with me physically, or am I totally able to do whatever I want, physically?
Ooh, that's a good one. Nothing's wrong with you
didn't
physically.
stipulate
No,
before.
there's nothing wrong with you physically.
Nothing wrong with me physically? Okay.
Mentally there is
so,
if you do
so
it.
So really everybody just needs an excuse. AKA Megan has more than an excuse, but you need some sort of reason to approach the underhand serve. So again, like Michael Chang.
What's Kyrgios' excuse?
It's a tactical advantage. That's his excuse. And
but
he's just curious.
You're right. You don't think that's really the main reason why he's doing it, though, do you?
I mean, I'd be curious also to see.
Curious.
I think Kyrgios has been so highlighted with it. What other players have done it, and what other players have done different antics that we would consider wrong or against the
rules.
rules.
There's a ton of them.
Tons.
Exactly. There's a ton of them, and there's a ton of them within the very best. I mean, I will say we are in the absolute golden era of like the royal estate of tennis with Roger Federer, with Nadal, Djokovic. He's had his moments.
Back in the day, Djokovic did a lot of questionable stuff.
And even as a young professional, I think Roger, and I mean, he talks about throwing his rackets, throwing tantrums, like, I mean, just going nuts and breaking rules. And so, yeah, he's known for something different. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, I think, for me, it's a moral question about the last point Grand Slam, aka kind of Michael Chang. He won a Grand Slam doing it for a little bit, and he had a reason to do it, but he chose to have a tactical advantage while doing it. Yeah, of course, Michael Chang doesn't want to walk away from the match because it's a Grand Slam, but if it's such a bad thing to underhand serve, then, poof, he could have made that decision. I love Michael Chang, by the way. Don't get me wrong, Mike. I saw you at Steak and Shake after the RCA. you were awesome. But
Steak and Shake.
little plug for Steak and Shake.
Are they even in business anymore?
I think so.
Oh.
I think so. But I think the thing is, at that level, there's do a lot, and there's a fine edge of do whatever you can to win within the rules. I mean, you look at Serena, she's done a lot of crazy things, but at the end, I'm sorry, you know what Serena's going to be known as? The greatest player of all time. In 10 years, no one's going to remember when she told that ref to take that ball and beep, 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 beep. You know, maybe. I mean, she's gone, and I mean,
I think-
She's had enough instances.
She's had enough instances, but again.
But I think it taints
Andy
her,
Murray.
like,
Andy Murray. What do we remember?
legacy.
It might taint her legacy, but you can't deny the girls
I
won
didn't
how many
say,
Grand
like,
Slams.
For sure.
But
Andy
there's
Murray.
a difference. Do you want
What's
to be
his legacy?
known as the person that is, okay, you're the greatest tennis of all time, but what about being the greatest tennis player of all time, plus having a respectful, known legacy? I mean,
Roger Federer.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're right. But
there's a difference.
I love Roger. I am a complete Roger fan. But if Roger doesn't win some more Grand Slams, he will not go down as the greatest player of all time. He should have underhand served when he had a chance. but
Roger, do you have a coaching position open?
Yeah, I know. But what was I gonna say? I think it's a question of, it's a fine line of, like, I think I may be wrong here. So if I'm putting Andy Murray under the bus list, so what do we remember Andy
What are
Murray?
you getting at with Murray?
Wasn't Murray no, I think it was maybe Tim Henman. It was either Murray or Tim Henman at one of the grass court tournaments. Got angry, hit a ball at the girl, and had to be hauled off the court.
The girl had to be hauled off the court?
He had to be, I shouldn't say hauled off the court. He was excused from the match. And that was a very blemish.
But that's against the. I do. That was against the rules.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but he lost his cool. He broke the rules.
Yeah, but that
That's
doesn't
totally
even
different.
go into the same.
I'm just gonna make it work. He lost his cool. He broke the rules. Will he be remembered for that? No. So I don't know. I think there's so many things where you go, yeah, you don't want to be the guy who won the Grand Slam on the underhand serve, the match point, but.
So you don't?
God, that's a
Yeah,
tough
how
question.
would
wanna be
you?
that
Would
guy?
you do that?
Honestly, you're right. I wouldn't want to be the guy, remember, but God, if I was guaranteed to win it, you know what? I don't know. There's a 50-50 chance.
Kevin would just hug his trophy and rock it to sleep every night.
I'd be like, I
don't care what people say. I don't care what people
what's
say.
the guy in Lord of the Rings who was like, my pretty?
Oh, Gollum?
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, my
precious.
pretty, my precious Grand Slam. I don't know. Honestly, I'm being devil's advocate here. I wouldn't want to be that guy. I totally agree with you
What would you tell our
guys.
son in that situation?
What would I tell my son?
That would tell Lakin.
Tactical advantage, baby.
So you would tell him, like,
player.
it's totally fine.
Listen first. Listen first, like you
She
said,
brought the
or I'm
big
going to
guns.
drop a counter on you. I think there is a fine line, and I made that as a moral statement. Like, will you do that? I probably wouldn't do that. But here's the thing: I would let my son know that don't get so caught up in tradition that you don't find your tactical advantage. But whatever choice you have to make, you have to also live with those decisions. Now, if it's in the rules, it's in the rules.
I get that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if it's in the rules, it's in the rules. But I don't also want my son to just like be like, oh, I can't do this because everybody says it. And he's never researched and found the true rules, the depth behind it. Because I think so many things are wrong with, I'm going with society now. I think so many things are like taken like that and blown out of proportion where we just accept things over time and we potentially say, and I don't know, I would love to do a little bit more research on the underhand serve in the 80s. We say, oh, tradition. Tradition says when literally the tradition was opposite of what it is now. And we've just assumed because it's the way it is now that it's always been that way before. How many I'm not going to go there, but if we go back to even this country and certain traditions need to be broken or reevaluated.
And do you think the overhand serve is one of those things?
I think
that it should be broken.
I think
Underhand
that
serve.
No,
Yeah.
the construct of the overhand serve needs to
breaking
be
it.
abolished, and it's
No, I don't.
We go into a new era.
I think if we're gonna make this, just hit my leg. If we're gonna make this, I'm getting so excited. If we're gonna make this like rant, and we're gonna make this thing as a tennis culture about how we're booing, getting so mad about Kyrgios and his underhand serve, then we need to change the rules. That's the fact. If we're gonna, he's following the rules.
He's been cheered for it, by the way.
Huh?
You'll be happy to hear that he's been cheered for the underhand serve.
Good.
a lot of people are in
I'm totally
support of
okay
it.
with it because I think if we're gonna, it's like saying, okay, well, we're following the rules just because it's the rule we don't agree with, then we get mad at the situation. Well, then either change the rule or update your kind of like stance on it because he's following the rules. He's following the rules. That's the bottom line.
There's also a difference. Like, there's a difference between being mad. Like, you're like saying we're all the way on this end where I'm like, I hate Kyrgios because he underhand serve,
no, I'm
which
not.
is not the case.
It's not about hating Kyrgios.
I 100% get it. that's his personality, and he just likes to
Follow
be
the
that
rules.
guy.
Sorry, I just was
Kyrgios
plugging that
likes
in
to
for
follow
you.
the rules?
Yeah, he likes to follow the rules.
So,
Kyrgios, I mean, come on. You're following the rules. I got you.
okay. But,
At the nest at 12 o'clock.
yeah, exactly.
He just has to. Hey, there are no rules that after you lose a match, you can't go
pull
out.
of the tournament.
His arm was hurting. You can use your other hand to drink. I mean, it's totally fine. If you want to party, you want to dance with some girls, you do not need your right arm. You just need your left arm, some leg movement, some hip movement. Nothing was wrong with his hips
And
at that
some
tournament.
vodka.
Yeah, and vodka cures the ailment because you just don't feel it.
All
right, so we're gonna say
I
that?
have no idea what I was even going to say at this point.
But I think the bottom line
You
for
were
me
saying
is
there's a difference between like being angry and like doing something.
Right. Like I'm not saying that I'm on the side of like hating everyone in the world that underhand serves, but I'm also saying that I'm not on the side that's like everyone needs to use
It's
that.
okay.
Yeah, everyone needs to use that because that's the tactical way.
I totally
when
agree with you,
you're-
Megan.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
You don't think everybody should just use it? Like
no,
just
because then you would lose your tactical advantage. It's about using it at the right moment.
What if the person just struggles with low short balls? Use it the whole match?
What if Roger struggles with Nadal hitting his backhand?
No, I mean like people at home. Like they figure out that their opponent. You have a student who's 3'5".
Ooh, yeah, bring it, Westerman.
Yeah, they have an opponent who struggles with low, spinny, short ball. Like they have no transition game. Do you tell your student to do the underhand serve the whole match?
Probably not. Here's the reason why. Most of those, or I would say, unless this is a really special student, if you're the special student and you're out there, call me up. Most students cannot handle the psychological ramifications of doing a shot like that. They can't handle it because they know the crowd's going to look at them.
Why would there be
Because there's a cultural stigma about it. Because no one does it. You know, honestly, I'm going to do it for one of you guys. One time you're going to flip out, but I'm going to do it.
It better not be against me.
I can't wait.
You know what? I actually want to go
home
play
from
a
the
tournament.
courts.
I want to go play a tournament now, and I'm going to underhand an entire game because I'm just going to watch the crowd boo me and flip out. And for some reason, in some deep, dark part of my heart and soul, I get a rise out of them, seeing them just like mentally implode and go, "You can't control me. You have no control, and I'm following the rules." So I think most players.
Lake and Garlington.
Yeah, 100%.
Lake and Garlington's going to be.
This is where our
he's going
poor
to totally
kid
underhand serve
is,
some kid and be like, "Dude, it's in the rules."
And Kevin's gonna be like, he's gonna keep doing it.
I'm like, "Go, son, go!" But I think, honestly, most people can't handle, and it's just. Kyrgios is a special person.
You're
in the
saying the
sense that-
delivery. Most people can't handle the delivery.
No,
and taking on the.
Yes, most people cannot handle. I mean, it's just true. We're a social culture. We rely on social relationships. It's just like why they say, like, look at your 5 best friends, and you're probably right in neck and neck with them, because if you're out of that realm of the 5 best friends, you're not going to have those friends.
Safe.
You're not safe. And so it takes a very special person to be able to go, I'm not going to be safe. I'm going to step out of the social
Screw the
norms.
tribe.
Exactly. I'm going to screw the tribe and watch this tribe jeer at me, like sneer at me and shame me, and look at them and smile and go,
That's
And
right.
I
I've
might
got
get eaten
you.
by a lion.
Yeah. I can handle a lion on my own. Kyrgios, crazy enough, is that person who can like literally go into an
sure.
interview. I mean, we've watched interviews where he's like, the guy's like, "Hey, Kyrgios, I just want to ask you why you went after Nadal," and he's like, "Why wouldn't I?"
But do you understand also? And I'm not. This is not like a rhetorical. I'm not trying to be a dick. Like recently, in a lot of different interviews, he has brought up the topic of mental health, and has talked about the fact that he's struggled with like his mental stability and health.
Oh yeah, I think. And here's
so what if all of this like pushing the tribe away thing is just part of a larger like thing, and he's just kind of acting out?
It may be, but I mean, if you look at a lot of like eccentric people that are just different.
So it's a really good idea to recommend that your average person try it. You need to be a little bit crazy.
But I'm just saying, you need to be. I said you have to.
I'm not saying you're crazy.
Well,
He is.
I'm saying you have to be a special, and exactly why, to your question, I said I wouldn't tell probably my student unless they are that special person that can deal with that kind of ramifications of having that happen.
Would you want someone that can really deal with those ramifications to be part of your 5-person tribe?
Maybe, yeah. I totally would, because they think differently than me. They might show me something that I'm not seeing because I'm just so engulfed in the tribe, and you never know when your tribe might be on the wrong side until you look on the other side. And so, yeah, I love
Stay
these
safe, Megan. Stay safe.
I love these conversations.
Don't break the rules,
This
Megan.
is the epitome of our marriage.
I
right
love these
here.
conversations, and I love people that are like sometimes extremely different from me, because it does make me think on like, whoa, let me think.
Why wouldn't you want to break the rules?
Yeah, it's like, like either, if they're not breaking a rule, but how do you look at that so different and understand that? I think that's, for me, like awesome. And I think like when you go to a different culture, it's the same thing. Like our culture, the American culture, love America. Yes. Sorry for the audio pound. I'm just passionate. But our culture is very different from other cultures. I lived in Spain for a while, and people in Spain will come up to me and ask me questions about our culture, like, why would you do that? Why would you elect them? I think when we had Bush as president, people were like flipped out in Spain. They're like, you?
Because he was so conservative?
I think because we had the war in Iraq and kind of going over there and like invade, like the whole idea of that. But from their standpoint, it was like you elected Bush as your president. Like, why would you? And like in their eyes, it's like, it's just a totally different world. Like their culture is totally different, which I thought was interesting. It does make you question. And I'm totally okay. Megan's like, Arr. I'm totally okay with questioning my own beliefs. And maybe I'm wrong about the underhand serve. I totally get that. But I'm willing to question it. I'm willing going to the dark side of why it can and fight for it for a little bit, just to be on that side to see if I'm missing something. And so for your question with Kyrgios and kind of the whole...
This is why we're in counseling.
Yeah.
Just so
So to your question about Kyrgios and potential the mental instability, I don't know if he is or not.
Mental health is the
mental health.
the word. I'm pretty sure the phrase that he used.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, that may be a cause of it. Maybe it's not. I think he's an individual who just doesn't roll with the punches of what is considered culturally right or what's
expected.
What's expected. He's just not the traditionalist of like that, and that's why also we love him, because in some part of us that isn't that way enjoys seeing it. That's why we watch it.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. We're talking about it right now because he's different. You know, and so there's a part of us I'm going to say it. I'm gonna go there, dark side. Some part of us wishes we could, in an audience of people, and go against what they think and go, you know what? I'm gonna follow my own thing and I'm gonna underhand. Some of us wish we were. A lot of us wish we were like that ballsy to do that and go like, bring it on, world, bring it on, because you see, even though with a lot of his other antics that I don't necessarily agree with, like all of his antics, but with this specific conversation about the underhand serve, we see that it's like wow, the dude just doesn't care what we think. I mean, and that I think is a powerful stance.
Yeah, I think you can look at it two ways, though. It can be a powerful stance, but it can also be a very selfish stance, in the sense of like you only care about yourself, and you're not caring about anyone else that's around you, including the tennis game, including the moral idea of what tennis stands for in society, including
he clearly
doesn't care. So I think there's part of like I don't know. Maybe I'm just not one of those people that would like be out there and be like, yeah, world. Like I'm just not that person. But I think that, I mean, I think
to talk about that, I think it's something so interesting. You say is like, what's the phrase you used about the game? You said he's not good for the game, or he's just sorry. I can't remember.
I said he's selfish.
He's selfish.
He's just considering himself.
Yes. He's just considering himself. But I think it's so interesting you say that. But at the beginning of the conversation, Ian was like, he's good for the game because he's different.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying, like, in my mind.
Yeah, and again, I think the tough part about this conversation is that we're starting to bleed over to some of Kyrgios's other antics, which I don't necessarily agree. Like, I definitely like, I wouldn't go in an interview or agree with the interview of like where he's talking about like literally trying to take Nadal's head off and like, well, the guy makes a couple million, so he could take a hit. Like, yeah, that's being a dick, dude. But as far as, and it's like, same within the rules, but it's like the context of how he's using the language and talking about it afterward. That's.
I feel like it's kind of another.
But again, the whole point of that, the whole point of me bringing that's another antic, not that I'm not including with. I'm just isolating the underhand serve and the course of the rules and the type of person you have to probably be to do that. And if you're going to do that, what are the consequences of your actions and the psychological strength you're going to need to deal with going against the tennis culture, which is all I'm talking about. As far as like him going on the other side, yeah, there's a lot of other antics.
That could be part of the thing, though, truthfully, is that a lot of people look at the underhand serve as really like bad morally, like I was saying, in the sense that it started kind of being the outwardness with Kyrgios, and he also has all
kind of
of these.
associated
That's a
with,
great point.
Right,
with him,
and so
High
like
five.
that could be.
I'm trying to give Megan a high five. She accepted.
That could be part of the psychological thought process
Yeah,
of people
they don't want to be
who-
put in the same.
Which 100% I'm
Category.
in that category.
No.
Like I don't want to be put in that category.
So I think.
So
I think that's
kind
a
of going
great
back
point.
to the tribe or the culture thing. When you consider our average listener and viewer, they're in a tight knit community, like a club environment or a rec program environment where there's the same 30, 40, 50 people coming and going, like playing against each other, having conversations, gossiping. And so the idea of being that person
it's not going to happen.
there's already drama.
No,
in
yeah,
every
exactly.
Yeah. There's
country
enough.
club.
Yeah.
I
You don't
totally
need
agree
to
with you in that
add.
sense that like in that environment you don't want to be. You're going to be the dick and you're going to be cast out and you will be shamed. But in the environment of being
You'll be stoned.
an environment of ATP Tour tennis where everybody is the individual, every player has to be selfish because it's their livelihood. It is about the game, but it's also about them. I mean, I'm sorry. It's about like Roger Federer does things selfishly to propel himself to be the best player, whether it means skipping a Grand Slam when everybody wants to see him play because he's trying to preserve himself to play better, which in turn might seem selfish.
You could argue that's the best for the game.
But that's what I'm saying. His selfishness is actually best for the game.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to preserve himself. Like Serena Williams.
Best for the game, Megan.
Serena Williams is choosing to avoid a ton of tournaments because she's trying to rack up Grand Slams. We could say, dude, I would love to see Serena, and she just doesn't want to play my tournament, but she's being selfish, which in some sense gives us some of these great moments where she's still playing at a very long or having a long career. But I definitely agree with Megan. I think it would be interesting to see a post-Kyrgios underhand serve review of who was underhanding serve. And because Kyrgios has such a stigma about him, are we just associating like the bad underhand serve to Kyrgios? Or is it just like, oh, dude, you underhand serve, that's not cool. Okay, well, let's keep playing.
Like when the other dude
now
did it,
it's like,
that was like,
Kyrgios
sorry.
underhand serve, you are such a beep, beep, beep. And so I think that'll be interesting. I do agree with that, Megan, in that sense, that the association that Kyrgios has created, and it's before this. I think recently he's underhanded serve, and I think it's caught attention because early in his career, he would show up to tournaments like, dude, I don't want to play. And he would go to like finish interviews going like, I didn't feel like playing. I don't have to play. I can do whatever I want. So already he created this kind of stigma about himself, and then to attach the underhand serve to it, he's taking the legacy of the underhand serve to
He's tainting it,
He's
Kevin.
tainting it.
He's tainting it.
He's tainting the legacy of the underhand serve and the true history of how the underhand serve has played an important, vital part in tennis, starting from the beginning, from the 1900s.
We just like have a cut.
So
Yeah.
I
See
really
you next
feel as a conversation about the underhand serve that we need to separate the association of the underhand serve with the negativity that Kyrgios has brought to it and really treat it as a true stroke.
I'm sorry, audience, that I brought this far up.
Treat it as a true
Historical
standard
vital part of our sport
that we grew out of
I'm
and
sorry,
that we
that
should
one
never
person
forget.
that's still listening.
Oh my gosh.
I love this show.
I think that's a good. I think that's a good closing part. Any other final thoughts?
Absolutely nothing else I can say.
It's a great topic.
Yeah,
No,
it is a great topic.
I just don't. There's no right or wrong. Is the other thing. I think
personality. There's so much subjectivity around your own psychology.
Yeah, for sure.
Kevin is describing that. You're never going to change somebody's mind. You're never going to take somebody who's like completely against underhand serve and have them be like, oh yeah, I guess it's okay.
No.
And vice versa.
Right.
Because it is really deeply rooted in
personality. I mean, it's just like the person. I guess it's not the same, but it could be close. You're playing a match and the guys, you're crushing the guy and let's say they're hitting topspin and suddenly they go to slicing and drop shotting every ball. Morally, it's like, come on, dude. You're just going to slice. And the person can't hit topspin, but they slice and drop shot. Okay, sorry. I'm going to take a slight diversion. When I drop shot Megan, she calls me bad names. And I don't appreciate that because I'm just doing a tactical advantage and it's totally within the
but you're not, though. But you're not. It's not just tactics.
Exactly.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
Doing it. Yeah, exactly.
It is a tactical advantage.
It's not.
It's a tactical advantage. But if they started doing something like that where they're slicing and drop shotting,
him off, he would totally stop doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
See,
he does it because he likes how angry I get.
It's not about the anger. It's simply about setting up a shot that
He's
allows
trying
me.
really
He shot
hard
himself
to
in the
not
foot.
look
He
at-
totally
look at-
shot
look
himself in
at-
the foot with that one.
It didn't shoot myself in the foot. I'm letting the audience in. That could be our next conversation. But I think it's just,
No.
I do agree with you that there is no clear cut like right or wrong answer. It is a rule that you can use, but you have to use at your own discretion and your own, I can't think of the right word right now, but your own
code kind of.
I don't want to say. I don't like using the word moral code or conscious. You have to accept the effect of your actions when you use it. I don't like confusing it with like there's this moral thing about
There's a moral thing with everything.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
It's
That's a whole other
everybody's morals are
conversation.
different.
I just think there's an agreement around. We have two different agreements. We have the agreement of the rules, and we have the agreement of what we consider right or wrong in tennis. And without doing enough, I think, historical background, I think we're all tainted into what is now what we call my air quotes,
For
the
the next
rules.
3 weeks, he's just going to be
Next week,
researching.
next topic, he's going to come with like an easel
Yeah.
and like in a courtroom with like, I give you exhibit one.
Yeah.
With
There's
like
bar
the
graphs
skirt.
and
I was going to say something, but I'm
He's
not.
going to put on like glasses.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like what is it? The South Park episode with the Wookiee. Have you ever
I don't
seen
think
the
I've
one?
seen that one,
Where it's
no.
like
I love South Park,
if the Wookiee is like if you can't acquit, what is it? Yeah. Anyway, it's very okay, but good topic.
All right. So
The Chewbacca defense.
Chewbacca defense.
You know what I'm talking about.
I'll have to check it out. I love South Park. All right. So with that, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this even a little bit, if you haven't
Even
enjoyed
just
it,
the first 2 seconds.
if you haven't enjoyed it, please don't leave a review. If you have enjoyed it, please do us a favor. We really want this to get off on a really strong start. We love to have as many tennis players who love the game be a part of this community as possible. So we'll hook you up. Go ahead and leave a review on the iTunes Music Store, or if you have an iPhone and the podcasts app that's pre-installed on your phone, or you might have to install it real quick, but you'll see it there in your apps, as I found out. Neither Kevin and Megan had it actually installed, but it's there on your phone if you have an iPhone. The reason why is because that's where like a ridiculous percentage, like 80% of all podcasts in the world are downloaded. So we're really going to focus there, and that really helps us out a lot. So if you enjoyed it, do us a favor, rate the show, subscribe there, review the show. Send us an email to ian@essentialtennis.com, and we'll be happy to give you a free program. I'll have to just realized I didn't put a date limit on this. I'll have to, in episode 2, I will have a date limit because I'm not sure exactly when we're releasing this. But for a limited time, you'll be able to jump in and grab a free program. Also, if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss professionally and courteously, leave us a comment to ian@essentialtennis.com as well. Let us know what you'd like us to debate, and maybe we'll feature that in a future episode. For now, thanks for listening. We'll sign off. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you on episode 2.
Have a good one.